Hi, I'm Allie with PotomacBeads, and today I'm going to show you how to make a really fun mermaid style bracelet. So this bracelet, the Magical Mermaid Bracelet, is going to feature some mermaid glass as well as beautiful mystic rivolis. If you need any materials, remember to check below the video. In the description, there's that little down arrow or show more. Click there, it'll get you links to everything listed out that was used exactly in this video. So to begin this bracelet, we're actually going to use regular beading wire and crimp on to a Potomax clasp. So I'm using the Potomax clasp here, and I took one piece of 49 strand beading wire. I've doubled it over, and I just did one simple flat crimp with a 2x2 millimeter crimp. It's the 49 strand 0.018, and I'm working right now with about 2 feet of it. I made it in half and just took your needle nose pliers and did a nice flat crimp. I'm using mermaid glass for this, and we're playing on the matte versus the shiny. So in the sample piece here, you can see that one strand is the matte, one strand is the shiny. This one's aqua. I'm going for the light amethyst or the amethyst color on this second one. And eventually we'll use some E6000 glue to glue in that nice rivoli. The first thing is to string your bracelet. However long you need the bracelet to be, I want you to string those 2 strands of beads after that crimp bead, and we're going to make sure that they are 1 bead difference. So in this one here, there's 23 on one strand, 24 on the other. This one I'm doing 25 on one strand and 24 on the other strand of beads. After you finish with your counts, I want you to drop your crimp bead down next to your beads. You're going to go up through the clasp with your beading wire, and then bring your wire on this first strand back through that crimp bead and back through the first of your 6 millimeter beads. Pull that nice and tight, make sure that you don't have any extra wire showing, and then go in and grab your other strand. The second strand, I'm going to remove my stop bead there. We're going to share the crimp bead. So you're going up through that same crimp bead. Both strands will fit. Again, this is a 2x2 millimeter crimp. And once you get that through there, a little wiggle action, we're also going to get it so that it goes through the clasp. So we're going to double over and put our wire through the clasp as well. So here I have that wire pulled. We're going to reinforce going down through the loop in the clasp. And then once you're through there, we're going to also go back through that crimp tube. So the crimp tube is going to accommodate a total of 4 of our pieces of wire. And if you're using the 0.018 or the 0.015, that is totally doable and it will fit in that section. Once you have both of them through there and coming out the bottom here, put that wire back through the opposite side as well. We're separating out those ends. And by separating out those ends, it allows it that when we cut the wire after we crimp, that we don't see a lot of extra wire showing. From here then, grab that needle nose pliers, do a nice flat crimp. And I try to crimp so that way when you're looking at the piece, the crimp tube is sitting lateral to it. So it's sitting up and down, you don't see as much. Cut off your extra wire here. And then we're going to get ready to make this magical and add some of our Chinese knotting cord. You can do this with cotton cord, Chinese knotting cord. You can do it with a color. It's kind of up to you, but we're going to get ready and add on the cord now. So I find always, anytime you're working with cord, it's better to cut more than not enough. So I'm using the knotted Chinese knotting cord, and I've cut 5 feet of thread. I'm going to go through and take this thread at the very end here, and I'm tying it over my crimp tube. So it's kind of right there at the top of the crimp tube, 1 knot, and then 2 knots. We're going to take our thread burner and we will burn that down and we'll attach it to the other piece of thread in there. What I want to do now is look at my piece and figure out which strand is the longer strand versus which is the shorter. Whichever strand has more on it is the one that is going to go towards the top. So that's going to be my matte strand here. I'm going to take my thread, and it's better to have more than not enough. On this one here, I did 1 single wrap going around the piece. I'm going to show you how to double it the opposite way as well. We're going to take our thread here, and we're going to cross over bead number 1, which is our matte bead. And then we're going to go underneath both strands, and we're going to cross and go through beads 1 and 2 on the left, on the right side. Coming back we're going to go between beads 2 and 3 on that left side. Give a nice tight pull. Don't be bashful about that. Bring your cord the whole way through. Once again, between beads 2 and beads number 3 on the right, then between 4 and 5 on the left. So you can see how this angle is starting to happen, that we have the beads wrapping on that angle with one bead up and them down, and we're getting that nice diagonal wrap to it. I'm going to take this and do it the whole way down the piece. So I'm wrapping basically right across, pulling that thread through the whole way down. And remember, we cut 5 feet of our thread, so you have a fair amount to do that first diagonal stitch. If you want to, you can also take the clasp and undo that and have this bracelet be laying out. I actually find it pretty easy to hold when it's attached at the clasp. It's up to you though. And see how literally I'm just wrapping around the bracelet and making sure that I pull tight enough that my thread kind of disappears in between the beads, which is going to be what holds it in place throughout the piece. Keep going, putting your thread around from the left side over to the right, underneath, across the top of the left, underneath to the right, and so forth. So I'm going to keep going till I get to the end of my bracelet. When you get to the end of the piece, you're still going to have about 2.5 to 3 feet left. You're going to go to the top here. You're going to end up having one bead that pops out. We're going to wrap once, twice, and 3 times around the crimp tube there, just to get that nice cord look that's repeated on the other side. If you don't want to go any further, here's your place to stop, and you're just going to tie it off, and then we'll show how to glue it. From here, what I'm going to do is back the string the opposite way. So we're going to create a little bit of a crisscross. The bead's going to go then from one side to the other. And coming on out, you can see as I turn it, going down the opposite way with the opposite sections of beads being caught. And that's going to create this nice little Xing effect that happens on the piece. You can see it's a lot faster going back the second way, just because less strand to pull through and the beads are already sitting in place. And this is so simple and gets you that nice kind of Xed effect really, really easily without really having to knot at all. So go ahead and pull that whole way through. And this is why when you were looking at cord, anytime you're working with cord, it's always a little fun and funky because you always think you don't need as much. So when in doubt, if you think you've got a really large wrist or you want to do even more wraps, you can do that. Go ahead and cut extra of your cord. You're just taking it over the top again. And I'm just pulling ever so tightly every once in a while just to make sure that I have that nice effect going on and that my cord is stuck in the middle. So see how fast this is? Such a fast and fun design that gives a new look really to basic beading. When we finish then and we get here towards the end, you can see as I'm coming down here towards my home stretch, I get back to the beginning here, tuck underneath, and then simply tie those 2 thread ends together. So I'm just going to take this one underneath, the one to the top here, and tie. The nice thing with the Chinese knotting cord is that it is a burnable fabric. So you can go in then with your thread burner or your thread zap, and we're going to burn that off. So I'm going to tie that right over left knot and left over right. Go in here if you want to. You can grab some of your Loctite Ultra Gel, dab a little bit of glue right there where you have it. Not a ton. You don't need a ton. And if you want to, you can dab it on the other side as well. Again, just to have that nice mix. Once that starts to dry, we'll actually cut that down. And what I'm going to do here is grab some of the gel, paint the interior of the design. So I'm not doing like a bubble at all. You're going to grab your 15 or your 14 millimeter rivoli in that light amethyst. Just push it down, do a little bit of spin to kind of grab onto the glue, and just hold it there as you finish up your mermaid bracelet. And see how you get that nice kind of X effect on it? You can see it underneath, you can see it on the top, It's really almost like it got caught in the net. Here's just that straight across, and you can go either direction for the look that you're going for. As the glue dries on your bracelet, because the knotted cord is burnable, you can grab your thread burner and just be careful because the tip of the thread burner can get a little bit of gunk on it. So if you use a lot for bead weaving, or have another tip that you use, or some people will even just use a lighter. See how if I heat this up, that knotted cord starts to burn. And actually what happens is it gets a little gummy, and I can take it and I can push it down here, almost making like a secure glue, but the cord's actually stuck to itself. You can do the same with parachute cord. And I like this bracelet because when you're looking at it, that clasp, which usually is going to be kind of to the back of things, it really takes center stage as you bring around and see that purple or that blue with these beautiful, beautiful mermaid shine for these magical mermaid bracelets. Thanks so much for joining me and having fun creating these magical mermaid bracelets. I love the feature of the rivoli at the top of the design, and so easy to glue and really minimal knotting. Remember, if you need any materials, go ahead and look below the video in the description to shop with us online. As always, I hope this really ignited your imagination and you think of all uses that you can do with some of this cord and even the stringing supplies as well. Remember, if you haven't yet, subscribe so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. Thanks so much for hanging out, and remember to stay tuned for our next inspirational video.